Hey, 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 welcome to Black Witch Chronicles. This is Dr. G Love. I am here with Zoe Flowers, a Black Witch, LaKeesha Harris, a Black
What
Witch,
up?
and our special guest this evening, Prismatic Black Excellence himself, Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs. And
Yes, indeed.
we're going to talk about prismatic black excellence. You know, we asked people on the Facebook page what kind of topics they want to look at, and we got a timely topic, a perfect topic for July 1st, 2015, which is queering spirituality. And queering spirituality is really not about queering spirituality as a practice. It's about queering our perspective of spirituality, which frankly never shifts except in the way that things are always shifting. We're all related to the universe, and the universe is doing its thing, and everyone in the village, everything in the village, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. Everything is a reflection of everything else. So it's really time to represent for prismatic GLBTQAI2 presence on planet Earth from a shamanic perspective or a more ancient indigenous perspective, which is that there are gatekeepers here on planet Earth who kind of travel between the veils a lot and can have access to other entities and energies. And therefore, when we come down and inhabit our two-legged incarnation, we also spend a lot of time out in the ethers. So we don't play by the rules. So realistically, you know, one way of understanding a queer person, or I prefer to say a queer prismatic person, is someone who is a gatekeeper in the spirit realm. And once upon a time, we didn't identify people by their sexuality. We identified people by their relationship to the universe, by how we're reflecting the macrocosm. And it was these gatekeepers who really just didn't fit in when they were here in physical form. And it could just be because of the spirits that were channeling through them. I mean, it's not just binary spirits. Sometimes it'll be a female deity that moves through a male body. Sometimes it'll be a masculine deity that moves through a female body. But then what about like genie and dwarves and fairies and elves and all of these other realms that most of us don't even really think about except in our dreams? Where's gender in those realms for those of us who are just so connected to different kinds of consciousness that are in other dimensions? One way you can point out a gatekeeper is like, oh, right, they're not even playing by family. They're doing a whole nother thing. So queerness, prismatic behavior, prismatic expression in the two-legged form is often a sign of who you're dealing with energetically, not a sign of who's doing what sexually. You know, like how that's one of these complexes. The complexity there sort of wanes after a while. So here's the introduction. What I say is we're really here to represent and show you Black prismatic excellence in the form of being allies to one another. Some of us identify as prismatic. Some of us identify as queer. Some of us identify as straight or heterosexual. Or everybody has their own identity that's always flowing because we're making these identities up to make other people happy because we've been asked to go sit somewhere. We've been asked to sit ourselves in a particular peg. Just fit yourself somewhere. Here are your choices. It's a multiple guest thing. You don't get to fill in a blank. There's no other. So let's just really represent for true queer Black prismatic excellence this evening. Black witches!
Yay!
Sorry, I'm muted. Shit, a black witch can't live on mute.
Okay, don't do
know,
it.
right? It's too hard for us to be on mute. I don't know.
Black witches live on 12, not on mute.
Well, lesson one.
Lesson one, we can't live on mute.
We can't.
All right.
It doesn't work for us.
You can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The way I see queering is exactly what G just described. You know, me giving no fucks about none of this, you know, and following my passion, my heart, where my spirits lead me, hearing with my spirit ear. That is going into the queer, the untapped sources, or maybe the tapped sources that we haven't really been listening to. Blurring the lines of gender, blurring the lines of sexuality, or what it means to have sexuality in this space. Also, blurring the lines between, I believe, religious practices that oftentimes keep women oppressed, keep LGBTQIA oppressed, and like just really not caring about all of these rules, these rigid rules that only work to oppress and keep us confined and away from knowledge. I'll stop there.
So I think we can turn it over to our special guest, Alexis Pauline Gumbs, to hear sort of what your thoughts are on what Dr. G and what LaKeesha said. And we're so happy you're here. We're so happy you're on with us tonight.
I am so happy to be with y'all. I cannot think of a better, after the full moon, I'm like waiting for the broadcast to come out. Like, I'm like, when's it going to be posted? So I'm so excited that I get to be experiencing it live and direct with you all. And yeah, I think that is exactly it. Black prismatic, Black queer, the blackness of the universe itself. I think about, and you know I'm always going to quote some Black feminist ancestor, because that's my spell book, is just the wisdom that they have gifted us is the magic that gets me through every single day, and that I'm here to share with folks. So, and I don't know if folks know about this, but Lucille Clifton was totally a Black witch. 100% for real, seances with her kids, and a lot of work that she, and manuscripts that she wrote on what would have been called at the time the occult, that were not published. So if y'all want to go check out her archives, they're at Emory University. That's just me saying further education on Lucille Clifton.
Alexis, I had no idea.
You know what I'm saying? I was so excited when I learned this about her. And so one of the things that she did is she wrote a proposal for a manuscript that was never published called Soul Signs, that was like astrology for Black people in the 70s. It's so deep, because she's like, what's the astrology of Earth, Wind, and Fire? Like, what's the astrology of you know, all these different bands? But what she says is that her astrological reading of Black people in the United States is Gemini Sun with Cancer ascending. And that Gemini, the way that she's describing Black people in the United States as Gemini, and actually all Black people as Gemini, so there's just different ascending signs for different Black people all over the world in the way that she's mapped it out.
Okay.
Very cool. But so that Gemini, she's saying the purpose of Black people on the planet is to make it clear the two-ness that exists, right? That we are body and spirit at the same time. No contradiction, right? We are this and that all at once. No contradiction. And like, that's what Black presence on this planet means in terms of the whole cycle of the universe. And I was just, you know, reading that was like, yes, yes, yes. That prismatic queerness, and exactly what LaKeesha was talking about, exactly what you were saying, Dr. G, is saying that there are those of us on the planet who are here to show every binary that you can possibly construct. We're beyond that. So whatever it is, it's like it has to be this or that. You have to choose between this or that. You have to sit here or there. We actually are just proof that that's a lie, right? Like we're the possibility of being like, no, it's all of this. Yeah, it's all of this. Yep, we got all of that. You know, like it's not, we're not going to be trapped by that either or, and our lives are proof of that. And so when I think about, you know, what we're calling the prismatic and what we're calling queer and what that has to do with spirituality, I think that that's why this tradition of gatekeepers, or the queerness that's required of us, any of us when we're on a spiritual journey, right? Because we become who we didn't know we were before. Not necessarily just in relationship to sexual acts, but just in relationship to being in our own bodies. It's a different experience than what it was before, right? So it requires a queerness and a transformative energy from us to even engage spirit, because the truth is, the fact that we're spirits having an embodied experience is a very queer thing, right? It's a very strange thing. It's like it's a grounding miracle of our existence, and there's no way to be normal about it and really be doing it, you know?
Yeah. So we are the peculiar people. We are the peculiar people that see beyond just this. We are the visionaries that have enough sense to envision, to go inward, and also to look outward. When I'm running, I hear the trees. I hear my interactions with the pavement in a different way. So I'm flowing and I'm gliding through spirit. When I'm swimming, I hear the water. And people think, oh, like, okay, you're hearing the swishing sounds. No, the water is speaking. You know, and when you can be that peculiar person that says, all of this, we are a part of all of this. When I first saw a woman's fertile mucus under a microscope, I thought, I mean, because it's called ferning when a woman is fertile, like mid-cycle, she's fertile, she's got this mucus, and it looks like a tree. It looks like a fern, a plant, and I'm like, oh, I almost broke down and saw that connection to the trees, the plants, and I am not crazy. I hear the trees.
Tree mail. You ain't the only one hearing the trees, so let's talk about what's going on. We're sending tree mails. That's a tip to every black witch, every prismatic witch, all y'all listening. Tree mail. You can get your point across to your people in certain kind of ways, because them root systems crisscross all over. Trees.
And you can send it on the wind, and you can send it on the wind as well.
Yes, and nature spirits travel via trees. Trees are sort of a highway for nature spirits. So there's ancestors and actual nature spirits. There's a lot of interesting dimensions of spirits out there that, you know, we haven't really talked about, but they exist, you know. And a lot of them energetically move like little squirrels or whatever through the trees. So if you send a tree mail, you can get your point across. I had a sister today, in fact, tell me that they were in New Orleans and going to a Tank, as a shout-out, Tank and the Bangers show, and that a tree, an oak tree, talked to them and was like, and she was like, or they were like, what? Is this tree telling me to touch it? And so they put their hands on the tree like this, and the tree told them to go check on their friend, and that their friend was going to need help. And sure enough, their friend had just got arrested in an action in Oakland, California, and was in peril of being put in a man's jail as a trans woman. And so this person went right on social media and let everybody know, and I kid you not, they got a tree mail.
Wow. Those oak trees are interconnected across the whole landmass. It's incredible.
Just today I heard that story. Yep.
That is
absolutely. And the trees don't care. The trees are what you identify as. They don't care about sex and sexuality and blah 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 and skippy-doo. Nature just knows who you are. They just know your spirit, and that's all they have to know to interact with you. All this other foolishness that we are constructing and trying to deconstruct so that we can live is just nonsense. It's nonsense.
So, do we want to talk about, because I'm thinking about the black preachers who I guess are threatening to set themselves on fire. Apparently, they haven't started yet, but they're threatening to do it.
Boom. It was some white preachers too. Let that be known.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thought it was only a white preacher who was setting
No. Mm-mm.
Oh,
no, it's a collective.
It's a
collective of damn fools.
Yeah. So, what do you think, thinking about spirituality and two spirits and sort of the current misunderstanding of my glasses of the current sort of religiosity? I would love for y'all to talk about that a little bit. Sort of what is it that what does the expansion process look like for people who can't sort of wrap their heads around the totality of who we all are as people, apart from our sexuality?
Okay. Look, last month we talked a little bit about mind control and the power, the ability to manipulate the consciousness. If we're going to be prismatic and talk about we can cross dimensions and listen to trees, well, then you better know that there's a lot of people out there who they didn't just decimate our spirituality when they colonized. They went and took it. You think they accidentally built all the strong big churches all over the world on top of sites of ISIS and other indigenous deities or temple sites all over major locations on the planet? The churches are built on top of temple sites, on top of those vortices. I mean, you can't better place a temple than the energetics did with the use of the stars and so forth. They hit those ley lines perfectly, just like all the pyramids hit the ley lines perfectly. So because those ley lines are mapped out, part of the mapping out of those ley lines is that by using those ritual locations, you can really access the collective consciousness because they're ancient. And there have been spirit sites. This is like, think of the planet as a big mesa or as a big altar. Okay, what you put in the east, you put there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
What you put in the north, you put there for a reason. The piece you choose to place central. And you know how to do the alchemy of your altar. Well, when I tell you that governmental forces and religious forces know how to manipulate that web because they learned it from the ancients, they have this alchemy, okay? There's a lot of this sitting up in the Vatican and all over. There's plenty of good alchemy written down and recorded, and people are using it. So we are dealing with people who are profoundly mind controlled, is what I'm trying to say. Profoundly. So I had, a little back and forth with somebody about whether or not Black Lives Matter today. And it was a family member, so I bothered to have the conversation. And, despite the fact that we both told each other we loved each other, that person can't understand because they're involved, there's a manipulation happening. You cannot even put your energy any longer into trying to switch someone who isn't ready to be awakened. It's like if you have a very hard bean, you have to soak it and sprout it before you can plant it or eat it. You don't really want to go crunching on that hard bean. Some things have to be ready. And if we're thinking strategically and understanding that we're coming out of an era which is about 2,500 years long that had a strong frequency and that everybody's deep in this groove right now, we got to just deal with who can wake up. If these other fools want to burn themselves up, they sell damn tickets. And it could be like, the Coliseum, and people can go get their gory thrills, and everybody go down in glory. I mean, they want to have a blaze of glory, go for it. I can't stop nobody.
I think it's such a good point about only sort of focusing on people who are ready to receive and people who are actually willing to listen and able to listen, because I think that will dispel a lot of pain for people who are continuously trying to get through to people that are just not there and are just not ready. I think that's a very liberating action, a real action that people can take, is to just sort of leave people where they are for your own spiritual and mental and emotional well-being. Alexis, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I do see. Well, there has to be mind control, because really, how can you have, you have these black churches across the South being burned, and yet these people are going to threaten to burn themselves, like, for no reason, right? But I think I see it in the context of a witch hunt. I see it in the legacy of that ongoing co-optation and that Dr. G was just talking about destroying the sacred sites and the temples and putting something else on top of it. And I think that it is absolutely known who has been moving transformative spiritual energy through Black communities and how. Let's name the choir directors, right? let's name the people who have been bringing that energy that has sustained the people over time and allowed collectively Black people to transform oppression into resilience on a daily, weekly basis, right? And so I think that, you know, I see the attack that happened in Charleston from a white supremacist as an attack exactly on that energy. And I see the fear around what is seen as a queer liberatory act around marriage equality and these types of things as a real recognition of what is going on. Because the actual transformative energy, what we're talking about like really listening, really being able to be moved by a tree, really being able to be in a transformative experience, which I would say is a queer experience, is something that is so disruptive to the type of mind control that you're talking about, Dr. G, right? Like, you cannot, it can't be acknowledged, right? So like, what is the way to have access to the magic and yet not be accountable to the implications, the transformative implications that, you know, sitting in 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in a choir concert at a small church in rural North Carolina, and I was just like, this, with a brilliant choir director named David Ford, and I was like, this brother is conjuring, like, just the spiritual energies that he was drawing on was way behind anybody who was named in that service. And I think that this is a moment where it's like, what was unnamed can be named. And what happens if the folks in those spaces are not afraid to claim the fullness of their power and who they are? What does that really mean? And how does that challenge the way those institutions have been able to be co-opted and put in service of controlling people as opposed to liberating people? So I think that, you know, I don't believe them. Like, I don't believe that these people are going to set themselves on fire. And I'm not trying to dare them to do it by saying, I don't believe you, but I don't believe them. If that's what I think that they are expressing their fear. And I think that they're expressing their unwillingness to transform. But they know what we all know. We know what fire is. Fire is an inherently transformative force, you know, so like, so if they want to transform themselves out of this plane and make way for what's coming through by using fire, that may be in alignment with what fire is for anyway, right? And what that transformative energy that we deal with in other ways is about. So all I have to say, I don't believe them, but whatever it is, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of them doing that.
Exactly. They want somebody to be afraid of them. Please. Can I just say I love Black women? Y'all getting my damn soul together tonight. I swear. Let me lay some money on the damn altar.
You're right.
I'm gonna get my money on the altar. I'm gonna get my tithes to y'all. Shit.
Okay. Tithing. Everybody gets a tithing. It's true. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did we lose Alexis?
Oh.
Did they just get dropped?
Yeah, she did.
Okay. Well, I'll see if you can get them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to add to what Alexis was saying about the choir director giving life. You know, with, you know, some of the queer spaces that we've been allowed to occupy, right, within within the church or traditional churches, because we know that there are Black spiritual churches that have housed our magic. You know, we know that we've had to take cover in those churches. We know that Harriet Tubman used those churches as part of the Underground Railroad, getting folks to freedom. So we know that there were allies and magic within those churches. Hello, how did she house all those people without magic? Okay, without witch power, Black witch power. But and I'm saying this to say, the choir directors, through music, we don't see how queer and peculiar the music is, and the coded messages and magic within the music. You know, when you go into a sanctuary and you're hearing the choir sing, it does something to your soul. And when we're in Sister Circle, I've been in Sister Circle with G tons of time. And when we were having Sister Circle in Brooklyn and we're dancing and we're shouting, that's all spirit and that's all magic. So you can't tell me that there isn't magic to reclaim and that there isn't assault or attack on spirit people when they're burning these churches down. They're trying to attack our magic, and we should be upset about that.
And it's not the first time. I mean, we know that they made laws so that we couldn't drum. They made laws so that we couldn't gather. So this is really nothing new. You know, it's just the same thing, just a different day. Just as Alexis said, and like Dr. G talks about all the time, it's just a different type of witch hunt, or the same witch hunt with a different focus group now.
Yeah, right. Well, I say the witch hunts were very successful. That's my catchphrase for this whole damn sit stuck in can a Black witch live. You know, the witch hunts were very successful. Did they win? Is it possible to win? No, but they were very successful in that even the witches are hunting themselves, you know what I mean? And there's just, we're so deeply off point at this point that, you know, anybody can fall in. It's just woven in to root out the unusual, as you call it. I like that, the peculiar, you know, root out the prismatic individuals. I mean, outlaws on drums. I think a lot of people know this, but truthfully, a lot of people don't know it. The indigenous population of the United States, what's called the United States of America, of Turtle Island, but not all of it, the part that's called the U.S., really was not allowed legally by this government to really bang any beat out. They weren't really allowed to do any ritual until about 1978.
Say that.
It was against the law, you know, to talk in your own language and practice any of your rituals. Okay, if this is a bunch of hocus pocus, how do they keep that illegal for hundreds of years?
Well, I know that right here in New York, I was told last year that they even made the drumming in the parks, quote unquote, illegal. And that the people used to be able to just drum frequently, have all types of drum circles and all of this. And then when the neighborhood changed, all these noise ordinances started to come into play. What I was told is that when the folks used to drum during the Harlem Book Fair, that you could actually hear the drums across the Hudson over into Jersey. That's how powerful they were. And when I was there last year, you could barely really hear anything. They like cut it down. You used to be able to participate till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Now the Harlem Book Fair is over at around 10 or 11-ish. And they used to be able to be spread out all over pretty much the Harlem area. Now it's like one street. And if you want to hold certain drum circles in certain parks, you have to have certain permits and things like that. So this is still happening right here in New York City. The policing of our spirituality.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that policing, right, is not just the paterollers in uniform, right? It plays out in so many aspects of our life, in our education, within the average tower as we reach to get higher education. It plays out in that aspect of our life. It plays out in the medical industrial complex. It plays out in the military industrial complex that's constantly rolling through our neighborhood. It plays out in our consciousness of what we take in through the different channels that we are taking in, through TV, the constant watching of news that is not news. It's bullshit, you know. Watch the Black Witch Chronicles. You got some news. That's what you need.
What is wrong with Keisha?
Shit. This the news, boo. This the news.
Right. Find out what's really going on.
So we
But
have another Black Witch.
Breaking news. You may be a million times more right than you thought you were. And I don't mean right as in right versus wrong. I just mean right. That's news.
So we have another Black Witch in the room who just said our TV station should be what?
WBWC. Reporting live.
Yes, WB. That's right.
Hey, y'all.
It's a Black Witch party tonight.
Yes,
it is.
Aja. Introduce Aja.
Yep. Aja, introduce yourself.
My name is Aja Echeverria. I am honored to be here with these beautiful women.
Again.
Whatever you want to call yourselves, human beings. We're together.
Again. Your second time being on Black Witch Chronicles. We love you like that.
That's right. That's right.
Happy to be a part.
All right.
Aja did all of our makeup for our Black Witch Chronicles photo shoot and videos. She's just sitting over there quiet in the cut. But Aja does the most banging job creations I've ever seen. That happiness oil.
Oh.
And whenever I get really, really down, honey, I go take a whole little soak. I'm gonna need some more of that, by the way. I just do a slip and slide with the oil, with the happiness oil.
I like that.
She's got some sexy oil now too.
Some sexy oil. What's that about?
Sexy. Here, you can tell them.
What's that sexy about?
Sexy oil is more, it's more earthy. It has actual sediment in it, so it really connects you and grounds you to the earth. And its purpose is to connect you to really your inner sexuality, your inner goddess. It can be used anywhere and everywhere. Trust me, I've tried it.
Oh.
So it's great, just like the happiness oil, it's great for personal massage or love massage for yourself and your partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite an experience.
I'm going to need about 4 or 5 cases of that. A Black Witch is living, honey. I got my tools. Got my tools.
I got mine, and it is definitely, it does its job.
It does its job.
Yeah, I
Yes.
got mine.
Aja, how do we get this? Tell us exactly how we get it.
Well, I am still in a grassroots phase, so you can hit me up on Age Into Beauty on Instagram,
Okay.
or you can go to ageintobeauty.com and request a bottle. Basically, ask for it, pay for it, and I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
No CODs. No CODs. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no COD.
No, you gotta pay for it first, and the shipping too.
Yes, can a Black Witch live? Pay your own shipping. We ain't paying your shipping.
Okay.
Paying
Well,
your shipping.
That's
well,
right.
you know, a lot of tonight's conversation so far has indeed been about sensuality.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. We're all very sensual beings, and the nature of being, you know, prismatic and multidimensional. You know, prismatic really meaning like a diamond that has a lot of cuts in it. And, you know, depending on which facet you're in, you have a different view and a different access. You're vibrating at a little bit of a different frequency. And so when we are prismatic people and we have relationships that cross the veils and we can hear the trees and hear the waters, that means that we're sensual beings. We are truly tapped into our senses. And it's well understood from our Kemetic ancestors that we have, many senses, hundreds of senses, not 5. That we have, that it's an entire grid, a sensory grid around us. It's not just like this one floating aura. It's one way you could draw us to when we were just like this amazing grid of a whole bunch of lines coming down and around, a whole sheet of lines. And that's sensuality. That's where sexuality ends up playing itself out, because we're colonized, so we're just we're expressing ourselves so deeply and trying to find our way to the sensual space, to orgasmic use of that creative power, the creative power of orgasm, the ways in which orgasm makes new life.
So we have a couple of comments. We actually have 20 viewers. And Corey, one of a part of the Black Witch family, actually wants us to define what queer is.
Corey late. Corey, no, we said that at the beginning, didn't we? Corey needs to rewind tape and go find out what queerness means.
Look, let's ask the professional. This is a professional question. I defer to Alexis on this one. Alexis, you're a professional. Give us the definition. You know it.
I love it.
I know it. Well, I redefine it, right? Because I'm a queer Black troublemaker, right? So they say some people are gay for pay, and I'm queer for free. So queer,
yes, baby.
To me, queer, Black, and spirituality actually is like completely redundant. Like that, to me, it's all the same thing. Queer, the way that I'm thinking about it, names that transformative impact. So we've been using queer in a few ways, right? So queering sexuality, kind of using it as a verb, like queer is something to do. It's naming, transforming spirituality or transforming something, right? A queer reading is transformative in that way. And so then to use it as a noun to describe, to be a queer is saying, I name that this is a place, right? Like those ley lines are places where spiritual energy comes through. I'm naming this, the altar of my body, as a place where that transformative energy, usually known as love, comes through. And to use queer as an adjective to describe something or someone is a similar thing, right? Is to say this is something that changes us. It changes itself and changes us at the same time. So that's how I would define queer. And you can have a queer relationship to anything and everything. I think that in this space, we're definitely talking about a holistic queerness. And so that does mean a transformative relationship to everything. And yeah, that's what I feel like that's what witchery is. I think that that's what spirituality does. And I think that that's what Blackness also is, which is why I say all three things all the time, but I think I'm saying love, 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 just so everybody can hear that I'm saying I love them, right? Like that's the poetic work of the word queer in my life, at least.
All right. Yes. And
that's
so as you were speaking, I pulled a card.
Is that Oshun?
Yes.
Yes. Show up. Show up, Oshun.
Yeah, mama. Yes.
Okay. All right. So before I read a couple of the comments that we got tonight, y'all want to speak on Oshun for folks that may not know about Mama Oshun?
Yes.
It says right there on the card, sensuality.
Yes. So what?
She is the sweetness of life, the life bearer, the essence of what life should be. That whole sensory, the feeling with your whole self, your whole body, the embodiment of the sweetness. Her offerings oftentimes is the honey, right? Offerings of honey. things that are sweet. Jewelry. I wore my gold hoop earrings. I finally found them. I think she returned them. Oftentimes, if something comes up that is decadent, something that is glowy and bright, come up missing, maybe you find one and don't find the other, that's because Oshun has taken it as an offering. But she is the belief that you can have things, the abundance. That it is your birthright to live in the sweetness of life.
She showed up.
Yeah, and also just associated in the natural world with the river, right? So that flow and that energy that we were just talking about, right? That it's transformative. The river is continuing to move and to move and to move, and with it flows all of this abundance and sweetness into our lives. When it flows through us, that's the ecstatic, erotic experience that's represented by Goddess Oshun.
Ashe.
Yeah. So let's see. Apparently, so somebody commented, Xavier commented on, I think it has to do with what I was saying about the drumming, because he says they're trying to also do that in D.C. at Malcolm X Park.
Because the drumming is a call and response, right? That is part of the magic. The drumming is the call and response, and it's not just a call and response. I'm responding verbally, but I'm responding with my spirit. Okay, so I may not be at that place where the drumming is taking place, but I'm sending my spirit, and my spirit arrives. And when there's certain drumming that calls us. I know for me, I've been overcome in spirit and possessed by drumming, by just listening to drumming.
Absolutely. And then we have a comment from Valencia, Womb 1, saying,
baby.
and she says, Black hole feminine love is so powerful that it could abolish instantaneously the domination systems. So those systems set us to quell those revolutions. Shout out to my indigo loves, Alexis and Dr. G Love.
Love you, Valencia.
Okay, and then we have from Xavier again, explains why my sacral chakra was tingling as you all, yes, for the tingling, as you all talked about talking to trees. It was an act of sensuality and queerness to be fluid enough to exist beyond the constraint of body and it's assigned norms.
Yes.
Smart guess.
Ooh, baby. Let me see. Who's that person's name?
Smart viewers.
Who's that viewer's name? Who's that person? Who is that? What's their name again, Zoe?
Xavier Hogue.
Okay.
Yes, Xavier.
Okay, Xavier or Javier or however you like to say your name. I'm sorry, I don't know. You can really use that sacral chakra experience as your go-to moment where you know with that alchemy. So when a tree speaks to you, like you get a tree mail, you maybe feel it in your sacral chakra first. That tingling may be your sign that you need to wake up and listen to something. It may not only be trees. But when we have these feelings, it's not just like, oh, I got chills. You have to pay attention. You have to become a scientist. Because now you realize, whoa, I just really seriously committed to changing my paradigm, to like believing in myself as a prismatic, sensual, queer person. So it's like, well, you better start taking notes. What kind of patterns happen? We can no longer just dismiss recurrent dreams and these tingles and these feelings. And we can't just quickly interpret them either. We may have to chart them and take notes and see what they show us. So thank you for sharing that, because everybody needs to be like, oh, right, I have to pay attention to this stuff.
Dr. G, I want to piggyback on that. I want all of you viewers listening to keep a journal at your bedside. The spirits are speaking clearly in dreams. You need to be recording them because they don't always make sense upon first waking up. And keep one with you, a little notepad with you, because sometimes we're dreaming as we're walking and working and going about our business, because we've been living in this paradigm of dream and incoherent thoughts. So if you carry something with you, especially keep a journal by your bed.
Yes, I wanted to add to that because another Indigo sister and I, Alma Levon Rice, and I are convening a People of Color Dream Retreat.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes.
De Mujer called Dark Sciences, because yeah, we do need to be scientists about our dreams, and we do need to also understand that our dreams are individual for our spiritual journey, but they're also collective resources for our communities of struggle. And so Dark Sciences, Alma and I are envisioning it as really the launch of a collective dreaming house for people of color nationally, for us to actually support each other on working with our dreams and sharing what that information means for our communities collectively. Because historically, certainly our communities have kept track of dreams, whether it's to play the number or to tell somebody they're going to be pregnant or to, you know, do all sorts of stuff with dreams. But also, going back, folks have charted their dreams and shared their dreams collectively as community to know what's going to happen. Like, when do they need to leave off of the place where they are and go to another place? When is someone coming to try to violate the community? When is a particular shift in nature happening that they have to adjust to? And I think that that's a science that we can reclaim, especially since we have the technology to be connected to each other. We could share our dreams with each other every single morning if we decided to, right? So, so I just wanted to let y'all know that in August 20th to 26th, we will be on sacred land that is stewarded by the Indigenous Women's Network in Austin, Texas. And everybody who is within the sound of the drum that is our Google Hangout reverberated voice will be there. Spiritually, we'll definitely be there. And as part of that, it's part of a larger dream, though, for us, especially as people of color, to remember that we have the power to activate our dreams as resources individually, but also collectively.
Thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
dreaming in.
And that's something that we kind of, the Black Witches, we kind of started doing that sort of informally, just sort of sharing our dreams on Facebook, waking up, typing up, this is what happened, this ancestor came to me, this is what, and then the other witches will sort of chime in with, oh, maybe that's something you need to pay attention to, oh, maybe that's a warning. So we've been doing that for about a month or so, and it's definitely enlightening, because then when things happen, it's like, oh shit, you know what? G said that was a warning. So it's definitely good to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. With that being said, Alexis, will you be posting that to Black Witch Chronicles? Do you have a link about that? How can we support it?
Yes, I'll definitely post the link on the Black Witch Chronicles Facebook page. Yeah, Dark Sciences.
Dark Sciences. Perfect.
So we have another question from our viewer, Rebecca. What do you suggest for initiating transformative energies within spirit to awaken and break from the cocoon, so to speak? So what do we suggest? What sort of initiating, transforming energies within our own spirits can we tap into, is the question. So I would just, yep.
Go ahead, Zoe, go ahead.
So one of the things that just I think is so important is just getting silent as a first step, as just a preliminary step, just turning everything off and just really being silent, listening to your own voice, listening to your own heart, and listening to your organs, you know, since we're talking about sensuality, sexuality, and all of that, really listening to those spaces that so often get ignored and hear what those organs have to say to you. Keisha?
Okay, two things. Coconut water over the head, clearing that crown chakra so that you can receive messages. Sometimes I even wear a white head wrap clear to have that clear field of energy. Two, sweat, and more sweat. All right. And the reason I sweat, I feel like my sweat is a gift to the earth. So if I'm running if I'm gardening, when I drop sweat on the petals of my flowers, when I drop sweat on my lover's back through sexual acts, that's all an offering. It's offering of spirit. It's an offering. And it's also a cleansing. There are sweat lodges designed for you to sweat as an offering, but also as a cleansing mechanism. When you talk about your organs, there's nothing better to clear your auras, clear your energy than that sweat for me.
And also spiritual baths. We talk about that a lot. Bathing in sea salt, bathing in basil, you know, just the typical old school witchy, you know, tools. Also, getting into water, getting into bodies of water. Dr. G, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I almost always say ancestor altar. Yes to everything that's been said and then some.
Yeah.
Get to that root. There are ancestors. They're here for you. They're not, you know, like we were taught maybe to feel humble about asking. They're here for you. Primarily, they are you. So it's just like asking your heart to work right. You can ask your ancestor that rules your heart to act right. Or if your uterus needs to act right, you know, call through Oshun or the ancestor that is like Oshun in your lineage. And that's not just in your blood lineage, your whole ancestry. Like, you're a universal being. This is a complicated thing. Like, for real. That's a big tree. If your bloodline is just out here like on a little twig on a branch, and then the whole rest of this huge tree is the rest of your ancestors also, it's like, oh, wow, once again, I haven't really been thinking on that large universal scale. I keep forgetting. I have to keep waking my mind up more. Like, yeah, maybe some rivers are your ancestors, or the ocean you were born near, you know. That's the case for me, for sure. Mountains, just all kind of stuff, frankly. You can go cross dimension, you can do anything. Get in touch with your ancestors, because if you get in touch with your ancestors, you're going to get in touch with everything that you would ever in life need to get in touch with, and there will be protection, there will be guidance, the clarity. You'll start just waking up like, wow, the cocoon's coming off. Oh, look, my little wings are drying. Oh, they're starting to unfurl. Ooh, flutter, flutter, flutter. It just becomes something.
It's so true. I mean, I remember when I first started doing ancestor work, they started giving me symbols, you know, and one of those symbols was one of the symbols that connected you and I, G. And they gave it to me almost 10 years ago. They just put this symbol on me, and now I use that symbol in my Reiki sessions. So, and I fought off that ancestor work for a long time. I ignored it for a long time. But everything really started to turn around once I started to do that seriously.
I would add, don't forget about the babies and the animals, the pets. Lots of messages and communication there. We met Miss Cleo tonight.
Yes, Miss Cleo, and Miss Cleo does her thing with spirit work. She was just talking to a cat that was not here. And you know, my ancestors, we've been talking about, my grandmother has been coming through and has connected me to housing. They want you to talk to them, and specifically go to them queer ancestors. Come on, y'all. We're talking about the peculiar. You know, you got the peculiar aunt that was in your family reunion that crossed over, and she want to talk to you. Believe me.
So we have about 7 minutes left. I do just want to say that Rose Jackson wants us to remember that August 28th is the Portal Day. It's the 10th anniversary of Katrina. It's the 60th anniversary of Emmett Till's death. It is also the day of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. So August 28th, very important day.
Yeah.
Well, that's a full moon, so we'll be having a Black Witch Chronicles episode on that on the 29th. You know.
So
that'll be
go ahead, sweetie.
That'll be a powerful moon for sure.
Absolutely. A blue moon too.
Blue moon, yeah.
Yeah.
So Alexis, any sort of last thoughts, last words in these last couple of minutes that we have together?
Oh, I mean, this is a dream come true. I mean, for the person who talked about initiating transformative energies for the cocoon, even the question, I was like, that question is like a poem that should be somewhere where I can see it often. It's beautiful. And I think that I just feel so happy to have been a part of this moment. Like, for me, there is like, this is evidence of a dream come true. This is definitely evidence of ancestral work. That the fact that, I mean, first of all, the fact that I would be just wandering through my life in a city I don't live in and run into all three of you in the Brooklyn Museum is just proof that the universe wants us to be together, and my ancestors guide me directly to you all and the beautiful work that you're bringing. And there is a time in my life where there is no way where anybody would be trying to bring me around anything talking about black witches whatsoever, and yet the whole time that's the reality. Like that's who I
reality.
Am from a small child, just like absolutely inviting the energies and listening to the energies of spirit all the time. So I just feel really grateful for the fact that in each of your lives you have made a way to articulate what this is through this powerful web show that you all are doing. You're really making it possible for a larger number of us to articulate who we are and what this work is. And I feel so much gratitude, and gratitude to the three of y'all, gratitude to all of your ancestors, gratitude to all of my ancestors, and just how the universe is so black. It's just black enough to love us right. I just love it.
Yes. Black hole love. Black hole love.
So I just wanted to double check something because one of our viewers wanted to know the author of Soul Signs. That was Lucille Clifton, right?
Lucille Clifton, but it was never published. So it's a book proposal that she created that you can see in the manuscript and rare book library at Emory University if you go there. But yes, Lucille Clifton.
All right. Great. All right.
Before we get off, I want to talk about. I want each of us to talk about the projects that we have going. Look, our sister is going up a mountain, and I need help. So let me put that right quick. I'm going on a journey home to the motherland. I'm going to Tanzania to climb Kilimanjaro in September. Ancestors willing, that these legs go up to that top of the summit. And if you have anything, give something. Peace and love.
All right. We've got 2 minutes. I'm doing a photo shoot tomorrow. That's why Aj is here for my upcoming poetry book. So that's my project.
I'm working on a documentary that talks about my personal transformation. Actually, donations can be made for that as well. Go on my Instagram and you can reach me there. Agent of Beauty on Instagram. And Zoe's wearing some of my latest collection. These are prayer necklaces that I make. So there's a lot of good stuff happening.
Alexis, projects?
Okay, Sojourners Land Movement. Go to the Sojourners Land Movement page on Facebook. This is a land-guided, eco-spiritual, prismatic person of color location. Mm-hmm. It's a place to do this black hole mystery school. It's a place to continue this conversation in nature with the trees.
All right. Alexis, in the last minute.
Yes, well, definitely Dark Sciences, and leading up to that, if you go to alexisPauline.com/AfterBrightestStar, After Brightest Star is a dream memoir for the movement that I'm sharing in like 35 installments, and it's all love poems for people of color doing collective land organizing, and all the poems are based on my dreams. So it's an interactive memoir. I want to know what y'all think about collective organizing and what you've been learning from your dreams too. So check out After Brightest Star.
All right, look at that. Well, Black, we did it. Plugs in.
All right, I love y'all. Thank you,
Love
Black
you.
Witch Chronicles.
Love you.
Mwah.
Good night.
Alexis, you're amazing.
Thank you.
All of you.
Good night.